Are you tired of always winning? Exhausted of your friends constantly whining about how overpowered your combo deck is? Then this is the cure for you. For those EDH players who are looking to make friends and help out a pal, this week's episode of Conquering Your Commander will be looking at Group Hug. This is Phelddagrif Phelddagrif. Costing only 1 colorless, 1 blue, 1 white, and 1 green, this fearsome hippo gives its real-life counterparts a run for its money in terms of ferociousness. Just kidding. Phelddagrif has 3 activated abilities, 1 for each color of mana in its cost. For 1 white mana, we can make pigs fly and give our choice of opponent 2 life? Whatever. For 1 blue, we can save our heroic hippo, and our choice of opponent gains a card? Okay. And lastly, for 1 green, this big guy gains trample, and gives our opponent a 1/1 hippo friend. Yeah. The deck has a multitude of ways to gain stats for Phelddagrif and give our opponent stuff, but the reality of this deck isn't to win. Sure, you might want to include a win condition or 2, but from my experience, this deck is more of a kingmaker. You'll be playing spells that enable faster games, excessive ramp or draw, and a million other degenerate and game-breaking things. You'll be playing very politically, and that can be a lot of fun if you're just tired of flat-out winning all the time. The key thing I can say about playing with this deck is to decide ahead of time who you think you'll want to win, based on requirements that you've chosen, whether they're a friend, they pissed you off, whatever, and then work towards that. The reactions you'll experience when you flip over this hungry hippo can be broken down into 2 categories: extreme happiness or extreme hate. People are either going to love your Group Hug deck for letting them do Battleship Magic on turn 2, or they're going to hate it because it tends to degenerate a game into just utter silliness. With that in mind, let's get into it. Tempting Worm is probably the #1 card I've seen across all green Group Hug decks. For only 2 mana, we let our opponents play practically any card in their hand for free, minus Planeswalkers. I've been able to drop an Omniscience on turn 2 because of this card, so that should speak volumes to the degeneracy that it can bring to a game. Veteran Explorer is probably one of the best 1-drops in the deck that doesn't tap for mana. Veteran is a great chump blocker and helps us give everyone 2 basics. Who doesn't want basics for free? Braid's Conjurer Adept is basically a slower version of Tempting Worm. I've seen people play her as a mono-blue Group Hug deck, but I've always found that her ability happening for our opponents first tends to lead her to being killed before we get to play something from our hand. Your mileage is going to vary on this card, so I'm not necessarily recommending it. Arbiter of Knowledge can save a friend in need. He'll reset the whole game's life total to a player with the highest. This can be great fun if you're playing against someone who likes to play, say, Aloro a little bit too much. Selvala Explorer Returned is a new card. New being relative, since as of this video, the second conspiracy set is due out in a few months. She offers our opponents card draw and information about their opponent's top deck, while still giving us draw, life gain, and green mana ramp. This isn't too shabby for a 3-mana investment. Edric Spymaster of Tress is the kind of card you'll want to play if you like giving your opponents card draw, but still don't want them to attack you. If you've ever seen him played as the general of a deck, you'll know how much work he does. Gate to the Aether is yet another Tempting Worm type spell. It'll let people chip things in for free on their upkeep before drawing. I like the spell, but the hefty price tag of 6 mana, and the fact that our opponents get the trigger first can lead to some similar problems we've seen with Braids. Horn of Greed is a great draw spell that we can benefit the turn it comes out, as long as it comes out after we have more than 3 mana and a land in hand. This isn't like Howling Mind, but can be pretty close in terms of draw power. Helm of Awakening offers everyone a very powerful reduction of 1 colorless mana across the board on all spells. Sit back and watch for some crazy early Tooth or Nails or other game-winning combos if you drop this early. Angel's Trumpet is one of the few win conditions for the deck. Remember when we give our opponents a million green hippos at the end of turn? Well, those hippos now have Vigilance, and if our opponent doesn't have a way to tap them, they're taking a ton of damage. Dictate of Crufix and Karametra are great enchantments that can give everyone some much needed draw or ramp respectively. They've also got Flash, which means we can sometimes benefit from it first, if you're trying to go for a win, that is. Well of Ideas is a fun card that I've tried to jam in my Zedruu deck countless time, but in retrospect, since my Zedruu deck has become more competitive, the deck can't really run this kind of enchantment. I think that our Happy Hippo might just be the best place for it. Fascination and Skyscribing are universal card draw sorceries. This is probably one of the ways you can win in Phelddagrif, since oftentimes our opponents will be drawing more cards before we even get a chance to. You can make them lose by being unable to draw. It's cute, but I wouldn't recommend it. Weird Harvest is simply an enabler for silliness or Tempting Worm. Tutoring for any number of creatures based on X will inevitably lead to some conclusions to the game. New Frontiers is what Veteran Explorer wishes he was. This can actually punish some of the greedier decks you might play against if they don't run a bunch of basics. I've seen a Hermit Druid deck get left in the dust because they use so few just to get out their combo earlier. Oblation can let us deal with troublesome permanents or a piece of game-winning combo that the person we don't want to win is using. It can also be used as one of our Hippo tokens to give a player draw 2 cards at instant speed. Truce is a really weird card. I didn't play Magic back when this was first printed, but even so, in what scenario would you ever want to give your opponent the option of either gaining life or card draw? It might have been weird in Standard, but this card is perfect for making friends with Phelddagrif. Jace Beleren is probably the only walker I'd bother including in a group hug deck. His universal draw is a loyalty pump is neat, but you can probably get by without running him. So let's look at lands. Forbidden Orchard is a fun rainbow land that can give our opponent an emergency blocker if he needs it at instant speed. Rainbow Veil is just another fun rainbow land that'll bounce around the battlefield. Unfortunately, it's been my experience that once I've given the land away, I rarely get it back. Well gang, that's my take on Phelddagrif Group Hug. Was it a help? Let me know in the comments. I'm trying to get MTG Ducky to do another deck tech, but she's quite busy saving the world and screaming science out loud. But anyway, as always, thank you for watching, and be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe to my videos.